Hi, my name is Abhishek Babu and my topic is utility and utility function. This word utility is coined in economics by the famous Swiss mathematician Daniel Baroni in the 18th century. This word utility is a term in economics that refers to the total satisfaction received from consuming a good or service. It is a satisfaction that received to the consumer for after consuming a good or service, the satisfaction that received by the consumer. It is this utility. Many economic theories says that consumers try to maximize the utility from a product because they buy product which gives them more utility, so they try to maximize the utility. Economic utility of a good or service is important concept, and it need to be understood because it directly influences the demand and price of that good or services. In practice, a consumer's utilities is impossible to measure and quantify because this utility gives us satisfaction. So utility and satisfaction, these types of words are related to our mind, and it is a psychological term, so we cannot directly measure or quantify that thing. However, some economics believe that they can indirectly estimate what is utility for an economic good or services by employing various economic models. The utility definition is also related with the concept of usefulness because the consumers needed to get satisfaction. So we are checking here whether the particular product or good is useful for satisfying a consumer's want or need. If it is useful for giving satisfaction, then it is related. This usefulness is related with the term utility. So while we define utility, it is directly related with the concept of usefulness. There are various schools of thought, and they differ how to model economic utility and measure the usefulness of a good or services. They differ on the base of their various thought related to the economic utility and how to measure it. They differ in these various things. When we also need to understand that this utility is a subjective thing. Different individual can get different level of satisfaction or different level of utility from the same commodity. For a person who likes chocolate, he will get high utility from or by consuming a chocolate. He will get high utility. But the person who doesn't like a chocolate, he will not get any utility from that product. The utility can also change based on place and time. For example, room heater. Room heater will give high utility in Ladakh, while room heater will not give any utility in Chennai, because Ladakh have a cold climate, Chennai has a hot climate. Due to that, the room heaters utility differed. So the commodities utility changes on the basis of place. When in summer season and in winter season, we take these two seasons based on time. In winter season, room heater will have high utility, or it will give us high utility, while in summer season it will have no utility. So the utility of a commodity is also based on time. And utility is a term. Utility does not discriminate between commodities on the basis of their characteristics, such as good or bad, moral or immoral, etc. The product which has high utility does not determine whether the particular product is good or bad, or whether that particular product is moral or immoral, or it is socially desirable. We need to understand that the product which has high utility, sometimes it can be a socially undesirable product, or it is an immoral or bad product. When we take the case of for example of alcohol, cigarette, these two products have high demand in the market, and it gives high utility to the person who uses or consumes it, but that does not mean that it is a socially moral or a good thing. So we need to understand that utility does not define the characteristics of a product, whether that particular product is a good or bad product, moral or immoral product. Utility does not discriminate or does not define the characteristics of that product. Then we are going to look at the utility function. What is utility function and all? Utility function is just a representation of the utility. It is a representation to define individual preferences for goods and services beyond the explicit money value of those goods and services. Utility function just define individual preferences for goods and services, or it is a calculation of how much someone desires something and it is relative. It is just a defining or representation of utility, or how much it is a calculation of how much someone desires something, or it is relative, it says. So we understand the term utility, but utility function means it is the representation. It is a representation of individual preferences for a particular good or services. Here we just not look at the money value of the goods and services. Here we just only look at the individual preferences of goods and services, and the representation of the individual preferences is mattered here in utility function. Historically, philosophers believe that utility has a cardinal value, or we give some amount or value to that utility. For example, we take an example of two athletes, athlete A and athlete B. And athlete A is really dehydrated and he is tired, while we look at athlete B, he is not dehydrated, he is really hydrated. So when we are giving a sports drink to both of them, we can say is that the dehydrated athlete A will get 5 times more utility from a sports drink than the athlete B, who is well hydrated. So here 5 times means the cardinal value, or the amount of utility we assigned as a number here, 5 times more utility than the athlete B. We are saying that means it is a value we assign here. So this is mean by that cardinal measuring of that utility. But today most think of utility as a ordinal measure. So ordinal measure, in ordinal measure we does not give any value or some like a cardinal unit or finite numbers to it. We does not give any numbers to it or like that things. But instead of that, we rank the product. We rank or order things based on preferences. On the basis of preferences, we order it or rank it. For example, a dehydrated athlete values a sports drink more than a piece of bread. We can say that a dehydrated athlete values a sports drink more than a piece of bread. Here, preferences is mattered, and the preferences can also change. Here the dehydrated athlete values more sports drink more than the piece of bread. So here it deals with the preferences. On the basis of preferences we ranked it. Another example is that if we look at the most popular mobile brands in the world, we will get a data based on the ranks. We will get rank 1 Samsung, rank 2 Redmi, rank 3 Vivo, rank 4 Oppo. Like that we will get ranks because and these ranks is based on the consumer preferences by the part of consumers, because the product which has more sold is more popular. So it is these ranks are based on the preferences of the consumers, and sometimes a product which get, or a brand which get first rank can get second rank in the next year, because the preferences of the consumer can change. So in ordinal we rank on the basis of preferences, but the preferences can also change. Thank you.